Gold and silver, which you mentioned, I think if you really want a safe haven from a meltdown in the fiat system, if you're looking for an inflation hedge, store of value alternative to fiat currency, if you want real money, then look no further than gold and silver.
For centuries, gold and silver have been recognized as one of the most valuable assets. Even in this modern age, this notion has not changed. Gold and silver always have a high value, and more importantly, they perform well even during depression and economic changes. This is the main reason why they are considered one of the best forms of investment. Unlike other inflation-sensitive investments, gold and silver are protected against inflation. Whether the value of nations' currencies goes down or up, gold and silver are not subject to this uncertainty. Based on historical analysis, precious metals are famous for performing well, even during economic devastation and depression. Unlike most physical assets that depreciate over time, gold and silver appreciate or hold the same value. Furthermore, it fares better than most other forms of investment during global crisis. During this coronavirus pandemic, it has been recorded that more and more investors are turning to precious metals for their financial protection. In today's video, we will tell you why Peter Schiff believes that the price of gold and silver will skyrocket soon. But before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe to our channel and press that bell icon to never miss an update. Gold and silver do not lose their intrinsic value. In fact, wherever you are in the world, precious metals are still precious metals. Gold and silver are known and valued everywhere. A piece of gold jewelry or silver ring would retain the same value in Australia as it does in the United States. This is due to its universality. This means that if you invest there is financial security and certainty for your precious metals, whether you stay or move elsewhere. If you are looking for an alternative to store value against inflation, fiat currency, if you want real money, then look no further than gold and silver. They have been out of the limelight. Bitcoin somehow stole some of its thunder, but that will pass. A lot more people are going to buy real things, so the prices of those metals are going to go up a lot. You should buy these precious metals, and hyperinflation is without a doubt, and probably the worst way this can all end, and the likelihood of it increasing. Inflation is here to stay. We are not even close to the end. We're actually only at the beginning. The Federal Reserve prints money and then uses that money to buy government bonds or mortgage securities. That's inflation. Inflation is about increasing the money supply, and that's literally the definition. The Bank of Japan, the Bank of England, all those central bankers have been saying for years that we don't have enough inflation. We need more inflation. Inflation is too low. We are below our 2% target, and that is why they poured gasoline on this fire. They deliberately created inflation, and now we have to live with the consequences of over a decade of inflation because now all of this money printing is finally showing up very dramatically in consumer prices, and it's just the beginning because initially, a lot of that inflation was leaked into the financial markets, stock prices, real estate prices, and bond prices. This is why stocks have hit all-time highs. That is why real estate prices have reached historic highs. It was not that the fundamentals were improving. It's just inflation. Cheap money was driving those valuations up, but now all that cheap money has finally made its way into consumer goods, and that's where it's going to stay. Inflation always ends up in consumer goods, no matter how it starts, no matter how it enters the economy. This is reflected in consumer prices, and we still have a long way to go in consumer prices. There is no way that inflation will return to 2% without a massive financial crisis, a wave of defaults, foreclosures, bankruptcies, and plummeting asset prices. The government will have to cut public spending and possibly even default on its obligations, including the U.S. Treasury. The Federal Reserve has the guts to do the right thing, now that it can pretend it does, but when it really has to do something and make that decision, it will not choose to fight inflation. Inflation is going to be here forever, and it's going to get worse, and the dollar is going to be a bottomless pit where your purchasing power is going to implode, and people have to get out, and they have to get out quickly and find an alternative to the dollar. No other currency really stands out like the dollar as a universal medium of exchange or account for you. But there is nothing more beautiful than gold, and gold is real money. People forget that before the dollar, gold was the international reserve. When the world switched from gold to the dollar, it was because the dollar was pegged at a specific weight of gold. It was $35, or the Federal Reserve notes gave you an ounce of gold. That was the deal, and America had that gold stored up in Fort Knox. If someone in Germany or someone in France or someone in Japan wanted their gold, all they had to do was take $35 out of the Federal Reserve and they'd say, "Here's your gold. Here's an ounce of gold." So the dollar was not only redeemable for gold, it could also be redeemed on demand into gold. So in a way, gold was still the reserve. The world simply needs to get back to the real money that was used to anchor the monetary system before the US pushed everyone off the tangent. Everyone has to work to earn gold. Most investments in this modern world require the expertise of an external financial consultant or financial institution. This means that you must contact a third party before you can assess your investments. It's getting even scarier now that some outside financial consultants are trying to swindle investors out of their fortunes. You can largely avoid this by investing in gold and silver. With these precious metals, your private investment remains just that, private. In addition, it could remain discreet without external third parties knowing its real value. Gold and silver have very high liquidity compared to most other investments. They are highly valued, so it is easy to convert them into cash. So wherever you are in the world or wherever you go, converting them is just as easy. Plus, you'll always receive the correct cash value. Meanwhile, the uncertainty in most other investments today is very high. With some other investments, your investment could depreciate or even be sidetracked due to adverse economic tides. When you own a high-value physical asset, you are protected against a stock market crash, internet outages, investment fraud, etc. Also, you can take your gold with you to protect it in an emergency. This makes investing in silver totally profitable. Although the physical possession of gold and silver is important, you must ensure that they are kept in a safe place. Also, it is advisable to have them insured against the probability of theft. Either way, investing in gold and silver is a good idea as long as you keep them well protected. The gold market narrative has been driven by the contrasting effects of persistently high inflation and central banks raising interest rates in response. While the US dollar hit a 20-year high, gold fell a 1.5-year low in July. The price has since reached $1,750 per ounce range, but remains well below the $2,000 level seen in early March. Over the past month, a weaker US dollar has given the commodity a positive boost. But the fundamental reason most analysts don't have a long-term bullish outlook on gold? Rising gold yields. US Treasury remains intact. Economists say that the Fed is expected to raise its interest rates by 50 basis points in September, amid expectations that US inflation has peaked and there are growing concerns other than a recession. A 0.5% increase would take the key interest rate in the United States to 2.75% to 3%. A recession would support gold prices, but the sharp rise in interest rates used to fight inflation has so far limited the precious metals' rise. Like all other investments in gold and silver have their pros and cons. They have their good days and their bad days. Either way, its benefits are exciting. From generational investment to inflation-proofing, gold and silver are certainly worth their weight. That's all for today. Let us know your views in the comment section below, and don't forget to like this video before leaving. Thanks for watching.